It's 6 p.m. Cairo local time, and it's time for the English news bulletin on Channel 2. This is Sahar Talawi, starting up with the main headlines. President Sisi meets PM Madbouli and the central bank governor. PM Madbouli inaugurates the new factory for the SE wiring systems in the 10th of Ramadan city. And the Israeli occupation airstrikes killed at least 50 Palestinians in Gaza. Welcome back. The news in full. President Sisi held the meeting Sunday with the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and the Central Governor Hassan Abdullah. The presidential spokesperson, Ambassador Mohammed Al-Shenawi, said that the meeting reviewed the macroeconomic indicators, the government efforts to enhance the performance of the state's banking sector, and the indicators related to strengthening the country's foreign exchange reserves and ensuring their continuing availability. The meeting also covered the efforts to continue reducing the inflation rates. During their meeting, they touched on a number of topics related to the performance of the Egyptian economy, including the government's efforts to ensure the successful and the effective implementation of the economic development program while remaining unaffected by the current regional and international challenges. President Sisi emphasized the need to continue the intensive efforts to create the condition conducive to attracting more foreign investment and empowering the private sector by creating a favorable legislative and regulatory framework of the launching incentive initiatives while maintaining the improvement in the macroeconomic indicators, thus ensuring the effective implementation of the development program. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said that the industry sector in Egypt attached the great importance to the industry line with President Sisi directives. The Prime Minister remarks came during the inauguration of the new factory of the SE wiring system Egypt company in the 10th of Ramadan city. The factory is one of the companies affiliated to the Japanese group. More details follow in the coming report.
Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli said the industry sector in Egypt is given high priority by the state in line with the directions of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. He was speaking during the inauguration of the new factory of the SE Wiring Systems Egypt company in the 10th of Ramadan city. The factory is one of the companies affiliated to the Japanese Sumitomo Group. He said directions were given by the presidency to give more weight to the industrial sector and providing more investment incentives. Madbouli said Egypt has become an international hub for producing electric wire harnesses. He said the state is paying great attention to nationalizing industries and transferring the latest technologies across various industrial fields in Egypt. Madbouli said this would contribute to opening the way for more competition by local producers and opening new export markets for Egyptian products. The investment cost of the factory is about 22 million euros and is built on 150 square meters. The factory, one of the biggest for wire harnesses for electric vehicles worldwide, provides about 3,000 direct job opportunities. They opened in Egypt in 2008, establishing 9 factories in Port Said, 10th of Ramadan city and the 6th of October city with 160 million euros in investments.
While Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli received on Tuesday the member of the political bureau of the Communist Party of the China's Central Committee, Li Chu. During the meeting, PM Madbouli praised China's support to Egypt over the past 10 years in the various core issues in international forums and also stressed Egypt's support to the One China principle. Madbouli also expressed his aspiration for the upcoming visit of the Chinese Lebanese president to Egypt, adding that the visit will contribute in boosting the bilateral ties. Also, the Prime Minister said that the current critical stage requires to strengthen the joint cooperation in a bid to support the development and stability in the region and worldwide. And the Speaker of the House of the Representatives, the Councillor Hanafi Special Relations joined Egypt and China, grounded shared civilization values. The Parliament Speaker remarks came during his meeting in Cairo with Li Shuo, the member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China's Central Committee. During the meeting, El-Gebali pointed out to the two countries' relationships keenness to boost the strategic partnership and to hold more cooperation in a bid to serve the interest to both countries. El-Gebali also asserted the Parliament commitment to boost the Parliament cooperation in legislative and parliamentary fields, as well as resuming the consultations on regional and international issues of the mutual concern. And meanwhile, the Israeli occupation airstrikes killed at least 50 Palestinians in Gaza on Tuesday as the Israeli continues its bombardment despite mounting international pressure to stop the military operations and allow aid into Gaza unimpeded. The strikes fell across Gaza, and the medics in the territory said that among the sites hit were two homes where women and the children were 18 dead and a school housing displaced families. Israeli occupation strikes have killed more than 500 people in the past 8 days as the military campaign has intensified. Israel's ground air was devastated coastal territory, displacing nearly all of its 2.3 million residents and killing more than 53,000. And the rescuers in Gaza said that Israeli occupation air strikes killed at least another 22 people across the Palestinian territory as the military pressed on. And the United Nations have received the permission from Israel for about 100 more emergency aid trucks to enter the Gaza, though the first supplies to have entered remained under Israeli occupation control. International humanitarian experts have warned of looming the famine in the Palestinian enclave of 2.3 million people, and the growing outcry has pushed Israel to lift an 11-week total blockade on aid supplies. And after weeks of the blockade, Israel occupation forces cleared 9 trucks of goods to enter the Gaza through Karam Abu Salim crossing. And at least one person was killed and 3 others wounded by the Israeli occupation attacks on the multiple locations across the southern Lebanon, despite a ceasefire. The Lebanese Health Ministry said in a statement that an Israeli occupation drone strike on the outskirts of the border village of Hawla killed 1 person. And the European Union Foreign Policy Chief said on Tuesday that she hoped the ministers gathering in Brussels would reach an agreement on lifting the economic sanctions on Syria. Diplomats said that the ambassadors reached a preliminary deal early Tuesday on the political agreement on the live economic sanctions, noting that the final decision is up to ministers. And the EU policy shift comes after U.S. President Donald Trump said that last week he would order the lifting of the sanctions on Syria. And the clashes erupted on Tuesday between the Sudanese regular army and the parliamentary rapid support forces on Omdurman, Khartoum's twin city, according to the army, who called the fighting part of the large-scale offensive. Explosions rang out in the area where the RSF had retreated after losing the control of the Sudanese capital in March. The army said an operation was aimed at driving the parliamentarians with which it has been at war since April 2023 from their last positions in Khartoum state. The conflict has pitted the army headed by the Sudan's de facto leader Abdel Fattah Burhan against the RSF under his former deputy Mohammed Hamdan Daglo. The conflict has effectively split the country into 2, with army controlling the north, east, and central, while the RSF dominates nearly all of Darfur parts of the south. And besides the killing tens of thousands of people, the two-year conflict has uprooted 13 million others, more than 3 million of whom have fled the country as refugees. And Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, said U.S. demands that Tehran refrain from enriching the uranium are excessive and outrageous. Khamenei said that the state media reported that the news as he voiced doubts whether the nuclear talks will lead to an agreement. And meanwhile, they say that the expectations that a fifth round of negotiations might take place over the weekend in Rome, but the nuclear talks are on the shaky ground. And Iran's foreign ministry said on Monday that the talks would fail if Washington insists that Tehran refrains from the domestic enrichment of the uranium, which the U.S. says is a possible pathway to developing the nuclear bombs. Tehran says it will. Tehran says its nuclear energy program has entirely peaceful the purpose. Earlier on Tuesday, an Iranian deputy foreign minister said that Tehran had received and was reviewing the proposal from the United States. And the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky accused Russia on Tuesday of playing for time to be able to continue the war in Ukraine and its occupation of the Ukrainian territory. Speaking a day after the U.S. President Donald Trump discussed the war with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Zelensky said that the conflict must be ended through the negotiations, but that there must be clear and realistic proposals on the table. And Zelensky said he had spoken to Finnish the President Alexander Stubb about the peace process, also called for more international sanctions to increase the pressure on Russia. And moving to WHO, the members of the World Health Organization adopted an agreement on Tuesday intended to improve the preparation for the future pandemics following the disjointed global response to the COVID-19, but the absence of the U.S. caused doubt on the treaty's effectiveness. And after 3 of the negotiations years, the legally binding pact was adopted by the World Health Assembly in Geneva. WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom said that the agreement is a victory for the public health, science, and multilateral action. The pact aims, meanwhile, to ensure the drugs and the therapeutics and the vaccines are globally accessible when the next pandemic hits. And the Lieutenant General Kamel Al-Wazir, Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development and the Ministry of Industry and the Transport, participated in the Climate Finance Africa Grows Green Forum. During the forum, he reviewed Egypt's experience as an integral part of the African continent and overcoming the several fundamental challenges, most notably those of the climate change. The greenhouse gas emissions reached 300 million tons of the carbon dioxide, representing 0.6% of the global emissions in 2013, with emissions from the transportation sector and for the 48 million tons of the carbon dioxide. The minister explained that the focus in the coming period is on the sustainable mass transit access, which aims to establish an integrated network of the sustainable green transportation methods, such as the metro, the monorail, the light rail, and the bus rapid transit. And by this, we come to the end of our news bulletin on Channel 2. Thank you for watching and stay tuned on Egyptian television. This is Sahar Al-Tabawi.